Most CEOs think they hired the wrong team. They didn't. I worked with a 28-year-old CEO who had what I'd politely call a lousy leadership team. Young, inexperienced, nobody in that team had ever scaled a company before. Then COVID hit, and instead of collapsing, they took the company from $35 million to $650 million in revenue. A buyer paid $500 million to acquire it. And 75% of that leadership team was swept up by the acquiring company to run their executive team. Not because they hired better people, because they finally learned how to function as a team. That's what this video is about. Here's the pattern I see constantly. A CEO has a leadership team that isn't delivering. Commitments slip, nobody challenges each other, everybody escalates back to the CEO. He's working 70-hour weeks, following up, resolving conflicts, making decisions that six-figure executives should be making, while his team clocks out at 5. And he's starting to wonder, am I the problem? The answer he usually lands on is simpler. I hired the wrong people. So he fires someone, brings in a more experienced executive, pays more. 6 months later, same problems, new faces, but same dysfunction. Here's what actually is happening. The people aren't broken. The coordination system was never built. What looks like individual underperformance is almost always a systems breakdown, and you can't hire your way out of a systems problem. Before I go further, let me be direct about who this is for. If you're running a company under 50 people, this probably isn't your problem yet. When you're small, the CEO as the integration point, it actually works. You're fast enough to compensate. But if you're past 100, 150, 200 employees, and your leadership team still can't operate without you, this is your problem. And it's compounding every quarter you don't address it. This is also not for CEOs who want a one-day workshop and a feel-good debrief. If you're looking for an energizing offsite that produces a vision statement and a list of values nobody looks at again, that's not what I do. This is for CEOs who are done with the cycle, who have tried enough things to know the problem is real, and who are ready to actually rebuild how their teams coordinate. If that's you, keep watching. Why everything else fails and what's actually broken. You've read Lencioni, you've tried EOS, you've run retreats, you've hired coaches. 6 months later, nothing changed. Here's why. None of those interventions address the root problem. They give people better frameworks, better vocabulary, better intentions, but they don't change the way people make and keep promises. I worked with a construction company in Arizona, the worst performing region in the country. Smart people, the right tools, but their words were lazy. When someone said, "I'll get that done," they meant they intended to get it done. Not that their word meant something, not that another person was actually counting on them, just that they'd try. And nobody called it out, because calling someone out on a broken promise feels confrontational. So they learned to let it slide. The cycle continued. You can run the best retreat in the world, align on values, build a vision, leave feeling energized, but if the people in that room don't understand that when they make a commitment, they're making a promise to another human being, and that breaking that promise damages trust, nothing sticks. Most CEOs think the problem is follow-through. It's not. The problem is that a real promise was never made in the first place. Without clear conditions of satisfaction, a shared understanding of exactly what success looks like, by when, owned by whom, there's no real promise. And without a real promise, there's no accountability. Intention isn't a promise, and hope isn't a system. The CEO trap and the one thing that breaks it. Here's what most CEOs don't see. They built the dependency themselves. Every time a conflict comes back to the CEO to resolve, and the CEO resolves it, the team learns to wait for the CEO to resolve the next one. Every time a missed commitment goes unaddressed, because nobody wants the confrontation, the team learns that promises are optional. The CEO then becomes the integration point for everything. And the harder he works to compensate, the more dependent the team becomes. So you end up running a company full of executives who can't operate without you. And if everything runs through you, you don't have a leadership team. You have a bottleneck. The best CEO I've ever worked with understood this and did something most CEOs won't do. He demanded conflict, not toxic conflict, healthy disagreement, executives challenging each other's thinking, opposing views out in the open where they could be dealt with. We had a conflict monitor in every meeting. Someone's job was to track how much constructive disagreement happened in the room. For the first few meetings, no, nothing, zero, no conflict. The team would actually apologize. So, no conflict today. But here's why this mattered. If the CEO is the only person willing to challenge an idea or call out weak thinking, the team will never learn to do it without him. And if they can't challenge each other without the CEO in the room, the CEO can never step out. Once that team learned to disagree well, the CEO could leave. And he did. Let them wrestle with it. Trust that they'd find the answer and go do what actually needed his attention. That's the unlock. Not a better strategy, not better people, a team that can function without you. So what does the right infrastructure look like? It starts with what I call a promise-based operating system, teaching people the specific language skills that most leadership teams have never learned. How to make a clear request with real conditions of satisfaction. How to make a promise and own it completely. How to declare a breakdown. To say out loud, this thing I committed to, it's not happening, and here's why. Without blame, without defensiveness, just ownership. These are learnable skills, and when a team learns them together, everything shifts. At QSC Audio, I worked with a COO named Joe. His senior leadership team had members who'd been with the company for 20, 30 years. Talented people. They knew their departments inside and out, but they couldn't coordinate across them. We started teaching them this language, how to distinguish a fact from an assessment, how to make a promise and own it, how to declare a breakdown without pointing fingers. At 60 days, one of the team members called mutiny. He wanted us out because for the first time, he was being held accountable and he didn't like what that felt like. But at 90 days, he was our biggest advocate because he realized these weren't just work tools, they were life tools. The same skills that make you accountable in a leadership team make you a better father, a better mother, a better partner, a better human being. The mood in that room shifted. People became happier, more ambitious, because they finally had the tools to have real conversation. Now, QSC Audio went on to become the #1 professional audio speaker company in the world. Not because they found better people, because they gave the people they had the tools to actually work together. Alongside that language shift, we run 90-day sprints. Every major strategic initiative broken into 90-day chunks. Clear owner, clear deliverables. Every month, the team reports back, not just on what they achieved, but on where they fell short and why. The team learns to hold each other accountable, not because the CEO forces it, because they designed a system together that makes accountability everyone's job. Here's what I see what happens when leadership teams go through this process. Within 30 days, executives start challenging each other in meetings. Not because they were told to, because there's finally a safe container for it. Within 60 days, commitment follow-through goes up. Not because people are trying harder, because the promises are clearer and the ownership is real. Within 90 days, the CEO starts reclaiming time. Not because they stepped back, because the team stepped up. The CEO who started at $35 million didn't find a better team. He built a better system. And that system took a group of young, really young, inexperienced people and turned them into the kind of leaders a $500 million acquirer wanted to run their company. That's what's possible when you stop trying to fix the people and start building what was never there. At this point, most CEOs I talk to end up in one of three places. The first is doing more of what they've already tried. Another book, another retreat, hire and fire until the right people show up. You already know how that ends. The second is bringing in heavy infrastructure. A full-time COO, a Big Four transformation project that runs $250,000 to $500,000 a year for the right operator, or $500,000 to $200 million for a firm to come in and diagnose your organization. Those interventions solve some executive problems, but they don't rebuild how your team coordinates, communicates, and holds each other accountable. Look, you can have the best COO in the world and still have a leadership team that waits for direction instead of owning outcomes. Now, the third is what I do. We go in, interview the team, surface what's actually broken, and build the system together with the people who have to run it. A strategically designed retreat that installs the coordination infrastructure, followed by ongoing calibration so it sticks. The team owns it, not me, not you, the team. That's the difference between a program that fades in 6 months and a system that runs without you. 2 things I hear and what's actually true. The first one, we've tried retreats before and nothing stuck. Yeah, I hear this constantly, and it's true. Most retreats don't stick because most retreats create temporary alignment without installing any new operating system. People leave feeling good, go back to the office, and within 3 weeks, the same patterns are running. What we do is different because we're not trying to inspire your team. We're rebuilding how they make commitments to each other. That's a different intervention entirely. The second one, we don't have time right now. We're in the middle of our growth plans. Yep, I understand that instinct, but here's what I've seen. The growth phase is exactly when this costs you the most. When you're scaling fast, every week of coordination breakdown is a week of misaligned execution, missed commitments, and revenue you're leaving on the table. The companies that pull ahead in a growth phase aren't the ones with the best strategy. They're the ones whose teams can actually execute it. If you're the integration point for everything in your company, if your team won't challenge each other, if commitment keeps slipping, if you're working harder than you should be at this stage, we should talk. You can find me at simonleadershipalliance.com. The link is in the description. Take a look at how I work and reach out if it resonates. Most CEOs think it's a people problem. It's not. It's the system you've never built. And the good news is systems can be built.